Hi guys, welcome to my channel Guy with a Plant. I'm Dennis from Singapore, and in today's episode I'm going to feature some of the interesting plants, house plants that I have in my collection. These may not necessarily be uncommon or rare plants. In fact, some of them are pretty common. You don't really see these plants on social media. They are not being featured much, and they are not being talked about very frequently. But I think they are very interesting plants in their own right. In fact, the last plant I'm going to feature is a stunner of a plant, and you should watch to the end of the video because you won't believe how beautiful it is. So let's look at some plants. Okay, the first plant I'm going to show you is a Ficus. This is the Ficus petolaris. This Ficus is commonly found in the rocky parts of Mexico. Hence, it is commonly known as the rock fig. They grow in the rocky crevices where the roots will actually climb over the rocks in search of soil to attach itself to. This is not a very common ficus here, or at least not here in Singapore. I don't really see this. The common ones, the common ficus here are mainly the lyrata, the tiniki, elastica tiniki, burgundy, and ambulata. So when I saw this in a local nursery, I just had to get this. And the people there told me that this is actually an import from Japan. Look at these hot pink veins on the leaves. They're so beautiful. And this is how the structure of the plant looks like. It has a very skinny stem and then very long petioles. And also it has this swollen basal cortex, which stores water. So this tells me that this plant, this ficus, doesn't like to be overwatered like most ficus. So do let them dry out first before you water it again. This likes bright light, but definitely do not give it direct sunlight because the leaves are very thin. So if you do, or if you get something that's very intense, these leaves will definitely burn. So give it filtered or dappled bright light, and I'm sure this ficus will thrive. Look at the petioles. They are pink as well. And yeah, there is this baby leaf that's happening here. So yeah, this Ficus petolaris is definitely one of the most interesting and beautiful ficus that I have. This is the Christmas Carol Aloe. It is a hybrid. In fact, in the world of aloe, there are many different types of hybrids, and in fact, this looks awfully a lot like the other hybrid, which is known as the fire coral. But I think this is the Christmas Carol, which was sold to me as such as well. It looks and feels like a cactus, but it is in fact in a totally different family, and it's in a genus by itself, which is Aloe. I got this about 5 months ago, and it definitely hasn't grown much. A little bit maybe, but not much. But what it has done is that it has given me nicer coloration. Check out these red bumps on the leaves. They're really beautiful. When I first got it, it wasn't that red. So the seller told me that if I give it brighter light, it will become much redder. So, which is what I did. I left it in the balcony. In fact, it receives full morning sun, direct sun, and in fact, this is the only plant that is able to survive that oven out there. So that's great, and it has given me this new pup, which I think is kind of been blocked by the parent plant. So I'm not sure whether should I remove these from the pot. Yeah, but anyway, I know it likes to be root bound. It doesn't really need a very big pot, so I will just leave it and monitor for the time being. So what I find interesting about this plant is that the texture of the leaves are really stiff, and you can see there are bumps on them that makes it visually interesting, including these red frilly edges on them. They are not sharp. In fact, they are quite soft, so it's pretty safe to touch them. So the aloe is a succulent, so it doesn't like to sit in water for too long. So you got to have a very well draining potting mix, which is mainly made of pebbles and a lot of sand. Very, very gritty. I've not changed this since I got it from the seller, so it seems to be doing okay. I'm not going to change it anytime soon. So make sure, but since it's outside having direct sun, under the direct sun, I actually do water it quite frequently, maybe every 5 days or so to a week. You can fertilize this with a cactus fertilizer, which is what I'm going to do because this hasn't been fed for the last 5 months. And it is under direct sun, so I think it should be given some fertilizer. Other than that, it is very hardy. Just put it next to the windowsill, give it lots of bright light, and also to water this sparingly. It definitely will do well for you. Pretty much a slow grower, so I wouldn't sweat about it. Yeah, so this is the Christmas Carol Aloe. Next, I'm going to show you two plants together because I think they are the same types of plants. In fact, they are succulents, and the reason why I sought them out specifically is because of their flowers. So you know, usually I'm into foliage plants. I only buy plants because of their lovely leaves, and yeah, but this one is all about flowers. First one I'm going to show you is this. This is the Obia helipeticola, and this has given me a flower. You can't really see very clearly. About 3 days ago, I think it's slowly dying off, but I shall put a photo here so you can have a closer look. The flower is yellow. It comes with a lot of spots on it. So I think it is also known as the leopard plant, leopard flower. Yeah, that is what the seller told me. Really interesting. It kind of reminds me of the flower of an orchid. The next one is Huernia Zebrina. In fact, the tag is here. That's the name of the plant. In fact, I saw this first. I saw the flower. It's not blooming yet, but I shall put a photo here so you can see why I'm quite nuts about this because of the flower. They have this red ring around, not around, but on the flower itself, which makes it really very interesting. But I can see that I see some buds here, so I think the flowers are going to open soon. So really excited to see this. So like most succulents, do not overwater them. They do not like to be sitting in a puddle of water. And this is really critical because if you do so, they will actually rot pretty fast. They will get soggy and soft really fast at the base, and then they'll start to spread to the whole plant. and that will be very difficult to save them. So as you can see, the potting medium is really very porous, very gritty, and yeah, I think you can water them. It depends on how much light you're giving them, but just give them water like every 10 days of 2 weeks. Yeah, don't overwater them. In terms of lighting, give them bright indirect light. If you want to give them direct sunlight, I think that is possible. Just got to acclimatize them really slowly before you put them under the full sun directly. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you is the Begonia repens, or the Electostemma repens. This is commonly known as the watermelon begonia, but it is neither a begonia or a watermelon plant for that matter. It is in the family of the Urticaceae, and it is native to the Southeast Asia. So this plant grows mainly on moist, shady spots on the rocks and the forest floors. So it likes to be in a very humid and moist environment. So this is a super easy and fast growing vining plant, as you can see. I grow this on my shelf and I will just let it trail. It makes a really beautiful trailing plant. As I mentioned, this comes from a very moist environment, so I will water this pretty frequently, maybe every 4 to 5 days. But this is sitting in a self-watering pot, so there is actually water inside, and it will wick water into the potting soil when it needs it. So the potting medium is pretty moist most of the time, and it seems to enjoy this. I accidentally broke one of the vine, and so I cut it up and root it in sphagnum moss, which it did pretty fast. So I potted the cuttings up in this terracotta pot, which I think is a mistake because now I have to water it more frequently. Yeah, and the new leaves are so adorable. I mean, the new leaves are actually darker compared to the original leaves, and smaller, so I'm not sure whether is it asking for more light. So these are the new leaves, and yeah, these are the older ones. So if you are looking for a very beautiful, fast growing trailing plant, this is the one you should be getting. It is cheap, fast growing and hardy. So yeah, if you are sick of pothos as a trailing plant, do consider this. This is the Begonia repens. The next plant is definitely a very interesting house plant. This is the Epiprinum amplissimum. This is the silver variety. So since this is an Epiprinum, it is in the same genus as the common golden pothos. What I find attractive about this plant and what is so interesting is the growth structure. As you can see, this plant has a very upright growth form. So the stem will actually grow upwards and then start to throw out leaves, very long leaves as well, which I find really very attractive. So what I need to do is to give it a pole or a plank for it to actually stick on, and then it'll grow higher and then to give even bigger leaves. Because in nature they are epiphytic, meaning they grow on trees and structures with the aerial roots, and then they'll cling on to that structure and start to climb upwards. There is a green form and a silver form, and this is supposed to be the silver form, but I think it's turning green because I think I've not given it enough light. It's in a pretty shady area, so I think I need to give it something that's brighter. And no, this is not a variegated leaf. This, I think, is dying. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because I just repotted this plant because it was in a very dense potting medium. So I have changed it to this very loose aeroid mix, which I think will benefit it in the long run. Unlike most pothos, this plant likes a little bit on the moist side. So once the potting medium is about 3 cm dry from the top, you can just give it water through. So I water this every 7 days or so. But this plant is very expressive. If it's underwater, it will definitely tell you by drooping over very dramatically, so you know it's time to give it a drink. Okay, the next plant is a piper. This is a piper crocatum or piper ornatum. I can never be sure what's the official name of this, but this is a very beautiful, not uncommon, but very beautiful plant that is not exactly the easiest to take care of. If you refer to my previous episode, plant spotlight episode on this plant, that particular plant is dead, is gone. Yeah, sad to say. I think I over fertilized that plant. I gave it too much slow release fertilizers, and the leaves turn black and they burn and shrivel up. So yeah, that original plant is no longer here, but I still have these because one of the leaves actually dropped off when I received this plant originally, and I propagated that leaf. So, and that one leaf has become this plant, but the original leaf is no longer here. But look at this beautiful, 4 beautiful leaves. So I would say it's actually pretty slow growing. Yeah, but there is the growth. I can see growth here, so it's still growing for sure. Yeah, I don't know what I can do to make it grow faster. Maybe it's lacking in some nutrients. Yeah, I'm not sure. This is another plant that will tell you if it needs water, because again, the leaves will start to droop. And yeah, and that basically is every 7 days as well. I keep it in a very well draining potting medium. I realize it likes to be moist. Keep it moist. Don't let it dry out before you water this, and yeah, it will do well. In terms of light, nothing too harsh, nothing too bright, because the colors will turn pale if you give it something that is way too bright for its liking. The next interesting plant that I have is this anthurium. This is an anthurium insigniae. I've never heard of this anthurium before. I got this, so I really bought this without knowing what are its care requirements, which is not recommended, because I like to know what my plants need, or whether can I provide for them before I go ahead and bring them home. But I saw the mature form of this plant on the Instagram, and wow, the leaves are really dramatic. So I know I had to bring this home. Like most anthurium, they do need pretty good humidity, and this is definitely one of them. So, and as most of you know, my humidity here is not the best, very irregular. On average, I think it's only about 50 to 60s percent, and this anthurium probably will need something higher than that. So what I do is to give it the topping of sphagnum moss, to mist this every day, keep this part really nice and moist, and also to water it more regularly compared to my other plants. Of course, do so only when the top 2 to 3 inches of soil is dry, but never let this dry out. So I think so far so good, but as you can see, this part, the tip is turning brown. I'm not sure why. I don't know whether is it watering issues or humidity issues. It's still a very new leaf. It's still pretty soft. Can't wait for this to mature. As I promised, the last plant I'm going to show you is going to be very interesting. It's very striking. The last plant I'm going to show you is in a Starbucks cup. Okay, let me remove it from the cup. This is a begonia. This is Begonia Julau. Check out the leaves of this plant. If I see this in nature, I would have thought that this is a pair of butterfly wings. This begonia is native to Sarawak, Borneo, and that is how it gets its name, based on the location. So you know, this is a very high humidity loving plant, and that's why it's living in this cup. They are commonly found on the forest floors where it is very humid. They are found in very rich compost soil, and also it rains really frequently, but also dries up very quickly as well. So you know that's the kind of conditions that this begonia will like and thrive. So the best is to keep this in a terrarium, whereby you can actually duplicate the conditions that will be beneficial to this begonia. Well, I think it's enjoying its stay in the Starbucks cup, as it is giving me a new baby leaf. Can you see? Yeah. Yeah, I'm really tempted to set up a terrarium just for this beautiful lady. Yeah, maybe it's going to be one of my future projects. And then I can keep more begonias in there as well. Because the seller told me that give it medium light. It doesn't want something that's super bright, because then the colors will start to fade. Which I think I tend to agree, because they are found in shady spots, maybe underneath the tree in nature. So it shouldn't be getting too much of a bright light. And yeah, just keep it moist, keep this moist, but never let water touch, stay on the leaves of a begonia, because they will start to cause browning on the leaves and make it soggy. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of me showing some of the interesting plants that I have in my collection, or at least I think they are interesting. Yeah, if you like contents like that, I hope you can subscribe to my channel and also to give this video a like. Yeah, meanwhile, I will see you in my next video. Take care and be safe. Bye.